Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. I'm so incredibly excited you're joining me because we're going to explore a truly fascinating piece of biblical text today. We're looking at Psalm 82, and let me tell you, it reads just like a thrilling movie scene. I mean, picture this, a huge, echoing room, a booming voice, and a dramatic demand for what is right. Okay, let's dive right in and discover exactly what happens in the great courtroom. But right before we step into that courtroom, I want you to think about your own life for just a second. Have you ever been on the playground or maybe in the cafeteria and seen someone being treated unfairly? Maybe a bigger kid wouldn't let a smaller kid play, or someone just wasn't following the rules of the game so they could win. It feels incredibly frustrating, right? It makes you want to step in and say, hey, no way, that's not fair. Well, what's really interesting is how that feeling connects directly to the very heart of the biblical text we're looking at today. Because God sees everything that happens on earth, and he feels that exact same way when people are treated badly. He absolutely loves justice and fairness.
Section 1. The Great Assembly. God presides.
I want you to picture the biggest, most grand courtroom you can possibly imagine. We're talking towering pillars, echoing halls, and a massive judge's bench. The biblical text tells us right here in Psalm 82, verse 1, God presides in the great assembly. He renders judgment among the gods. You see, God is the chief judge in this courtroom. He's stepping into the room, taking his seat right at the very center, and calling a massive meeting to see exactly how things are being run down here on earth. He is stepping up to render judgment, which basically means he's going to make a ruling on what is going wrong. Now, you might be wondering, wait a minute, among the gods, who are they? That is a brilliant question. So the really crucial point here is that in this specific passage, these aren't actual magical gods. The text just uses this word to describe human leaders. We're talking about earthly rulers, kings, governors, or really anyone who thinks they hold a lot of power over other people. God is calling all these human leaders into his courtroom. He has put them in charge of taking care of the earth, and now, well, he wants a progress report.
Section 2. Defending the weak. God's commands.
Psalm 82 uses some pretty big, important words here that we need to define so we know exactly who God is talking about. When the text says oppressed and fatherless, what does that actually mean? Well, the oppressed are people who are being bullied, pushed around, or treated unfairly by people who are stronger than them. And the fatherless refers to kids who don't have parents around to protect them or provide for them. These are the people in society who have a really hard time standing up for themselves. And this brilliantly illustrates just how much God pays attention to those who are hurting. So, what does God, the chief judge, command these leaders to actually do? Look at this list straight from the text. He gives them exact instructions. He tells them to defend the weak and the fatherless. He says to uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. He commands them to rescue the weak and the needy and deliver them from the hand of the wicked. Do you kind of notice a pattern here? Every single rule is about helping people who can't help themselves. God is essentially saying, I gave you power, and you're supposed to use it to protect the people who have absolutely no power. He cares so deeply about kindness and fairness. Section 3. Rulers in the dark, ignoring justice. The text gives us a really sharp contrast here. On one side, we have what God wants: light, truth, fairness, and justice. He wants leaders to shine a big light on problems and actually fix them. But instead, the text says these bad rulers know nothing and understand nothing. It says they walk about in darkness. They're completely ignoring his perfect instructions. Instead of defending the weak, they're defending the unjust and showing partiality to the wicked. Basically, they're letting the bad guys get away with being bad, just because it's easier, or maybe it helps them stay in power. They are totally in the dark when it comes to doing what's right. And what happens when the people in charge refuse to be fair? The text says, all the foundations of the earth are shaken. Think about a giant house for a second. If the foundation, the solid concrete at the very bottom, starts to crack and shake, the whole house is going to feel wobbly and dangerous. And that's exactly what happens to the world when leaders are unfair. The world feels broken, scary, and unstable for the people living in it. When justice is missing, literally everyone feels the earthquake. But God doesn't just sit back and let this happen. He delivers his ruling. He looks at these leaders who think they're so high and mighty, who actually think they're gods, and he says, I said you are gods, but you will die like mere mortals. You will fall like every other ruler. Guys, this is a huge reality check. He's reminding them that their earthly power, it's only temporary. They're just regular human beings, and one day their power will end. He is making it perfectly clear that no one escapes his justice. He will hold every single leader accountable for how they treated the weakest people around them. Section 4. God rules the earth, the true judge. The psalm ends with this really powerful, hopeful shout. It says, "Rise up, O God, judge the earth, for all the nations are your inheritance." Because human leaders mess up so often, the writer of this psalm is pleading for God himself to just step in and take over. It's a fantastic reminder that ultimately, the whole earth belongs to him. He is the only true, perfect judge. And one day, his ultimate plan is to fix the whole world, to make sure all that shaking stops, and to ensure that true justice wins out everywhere. So, what should you take away from all this? We might not be kings or rulers of a whole country, but we all have our own sphere of influence. We all have places where we can choose to be fair or unfair. So I want to leave you with this question to really think about. How can you help him defend the weak in your own school, on your playground, or right in your neighborhood? The next time you see someone being left out or treated unfairly, remember the great courtroom. Remember how much he loves justice, and think about how you can step up and be a light in the dark. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I challenge you to go out and be a true defender of the weak today.